Welcome, everybody, to the Kraken Cast podcast, first episode of season 2. Today, we're going to be joined by Twitch-partnered streamer Medic1556. You can find links to all of Medic's socials and Twitch channels if you're listening to this on Spotify or another podcast platform, or watching this on YouTube in the links below. For anybody who's watching it live, you just use !guest and it'll pop up Medic's information. Thank you so much for joining us today for the podcast, Medic.
Thank you for having me. It's fun to be here.
Yeah, I've been watching you for a long time. Obviously, the first thing that may strike people is you have a really wonderful broadcaster voice. It's one of the things that when I first found your channel really drew me to you. Is it's such a wonderful thing. You broadcast during the mornings for me, so having a coffee, going through my emails, listening to that, it's just perfection.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I never really knew I had it until somebody actually said something. Otherwise, I never ever thought about doing any sort of voice work.
Awesome. And so just kind of starting things off, just to kind of ease into things. I like to ask a lot of kind of getting to know people questions, kind of figure about their journey into content creation. We all have our different handles. Mine's Loctavian, so I play on my own name plus historical figures. What made you go with the name Medic?
It was just a normal, common, I guess, username I was using at the time. When I signed up for Twitch, it was literally just to be a viewer. I went in to find out more about Fallout 4 at the time, and it just stuck with me. And then the day I decided to do it for myself, I just didn't change it. I liked what I had, so I went with it. Yeah,
that's always kind of a great way to go. I know a lot of people do already have kind of their handles and keep it. I mean, you're already kind of known in communities as a chatter, as a community member, so makes a lot of sense. And what made you decide to go live? Like you said, you originally came on, you were checking out some Fallout 4, streamers and things like that. But a few years ago, you decided to hit that go live button. It looks like all the way back in 2019. It looks like around May of 2019 is when you first hit that go live button.
Yeah, April 29th, 2019 was the day I went live. And it took a lot of courage. It took a lot of courage. I am in no way an extrovert in any sort of way. I'm a massive, major introvert. And doing something like that was something huge I would sort of want to accomplish. And other people encouraged me to do it. And I said, well, let's do it. And I did it. I haven't turned back since.
That's awesome. Yeah, and myself, I'm very extroverted, so it's always interesting when I talk to people who are kind of introverts, like naturally, like in social situations, going into broadcasting, going into streamer, even content creation. How would you say, I mean, you've been doing this now for a number of years, like you said, April 29th, 2019. We're all the way here in November of 2021. So it's been over two and a half years now. How has that kind of affected you as somebody who's, normally introverted, kind of being in this like extroverted role for quite some time now?
Well, I get yelled at often for narrating every single thing I'm doing while I'm in the house when I'm not working. That's a big thing. But it's made me better as a whole person. It's made me have more sympathy and more empathy towards others. And it's also taught me that some of the coolest people out there in the gaming community are right here on Twitch. And I absolutely fell in love with that. I want to stay along and keep on doing it.
Yeah, and I really agree. A lot of the coolest people in the gaming communities are right here on Twitch, whether you, like you said, you started as a viewer or you go into broadcasting. It's kind of it's interesting going from being, in my opinion, as somebody who watched Twitch for years before I went live, going from that role of being a community member, interacting with streamers and being a streamer yourself. How has that kind of like shifted your overall like perspective on like Twitch? Not just the communities you game with, but Twitch as a whole, like having now seen it from like as a viewer, but also as a broadcaster who's been doing it for years and actually gotten to the point of being a partner on Twitch.
It's, it's weird. And I think we all have our own different experiences when it comes to that. But I went from being a viewer of just thinking, well, this person just plays a video game every day and that's all they got to do and talk to people. But after hitting that go live button and realizing, wow, there's a lot more work put into this, and you are your only person. You are the producer, the creator, you're the moderator for a long time in the beginning. And it is sort of makes you have a business sense in sort of wanting to actually operate as a business as we should. I never thought I would ever be into that. I've been absolutely enjoying it and loving it. There's stressful parts, but it introduced the whole business side of gaming to me, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, we have to wear a lot of different hats when you create content because, yeah, you are a broadcaster. You know, you're an entertainer, whether your style is to provide knowledge or humor, whatever case may be. But you're also, like you said, you're also a promoter. You got to promote yourself. You have to advertise yourself. There is a whole business aspect to it, whether you're doing it as a hobby or a job, because you do have money coming in. There's things like taxes and stuff. There's so many different things. And all of a sudden, you're a small business owner before you know it. So.
Exactly.
So looking at the games you play, just kind of talking about games a little bit. We'll get more into depth with the games, but I noticed, like, looking at the hours, just using Twitch Tracker, which kind of gives me a periphery idea of what you do. The bulk of what you play, like you've touched on some Cyberpunk here, some variety there, some Fallout 4 here, but you know, you got 1,500 hours in Elder Scrolls Online. You got another 4,800, almost 5,000 hours in Fallout 76. Two solid Bethesda games, but two of the online iterations. What really drew you to Fallout 76, to Elder Scrolls Online, to these like online editions of these games? Is what the content you want to make.
That's a lot of hours.
A lot of hours.
Holy cow!
Yeah, and that's just the hours that you've done it live. So if you've done any offline, it's going to be well past that. So
that is amazing. When it comes to the communities, I mean, they're both both Bethesda games. And I've been able to network very closely with those within 76. And I've also been able to network very closely with those in ESO as well. And I see a lot of people people play both. And a lot of people have crossed over and they go back and forth. They might play something else. My Cyberpunk adventure, that was a one-day sort of deal. And that was the first time ever I basically changed games. It was one of the most stressful days in my streaming career. But it's when it comes to 76, when it comes to ESO, it's an amazing and caring community that when somebody's fallen, somebody's going to come and help pick them up, whether it's words of encouragement, whether it's something they need in game. There's somebody always there willing to help no matter what. You just have to ask and somebody will come along and help. And I think that is absolutely amazing.
I think it's fantastic too, and I think that's really kind of indicative of streaming an online game that has a built-in community. Like you said, you were watching Fallout 4 videos when you were a viewer. I watch a lot of streamers do single-player stuff too. That's equally amazing. But when you're streaming to a game that already has a community, an online community that's built around helping each other, supporting the game, wanting to draw others into the game, and you can play kind of a focal role for people who might not have seen that game before or helping. For me, it's always been really awesome. Anytime I can connect with viewers, that's great. But when I'm just in chat and I don't play on Xbox, right? And I'm doing Elder Scrolls Online, but somebody's like, oh, I play on Xbox, anybody else playing Xbox, and I can see people in Discord or on my chat connecting. The fact that I can help facilitate those connections, I've always thought was awesome. And maybe you could talk a little bit more about being a facilitator of connections, not just with yourself in the game, but like helping bring communities together within the games we love.
I've done the similar things as well. Like in Discord, we always had that because they're not cross-platform. They're not cross-compatible. And I play on an Xbox controller, even though I'm on PC, and I get a lot of people coming in being so excited that I'm on Xbox. And I just hate having to say, I'm sorry, I don't. But I use a controller on gamepad mode. But we try our best to direct them or redirect them into the proper channel in order to network and communicate with other people who are on the same platform, who have the same ideas as them. Like, even if people are looking for new beginner trials, there's somebody out there that will do that and accept them in. People just looking for new beginnings for, say, housing, they're out there too, and they help you, and that's absolutely amazing in my eyes.
Yeah, and there is a lot to do in Elder Scrolls Online. Also a lot to do in Fallout 76. So curious, just kind of going that direction a bit. At least let's start with Elder Scrolls, because you mentioned housing. Like, obviously, everybody can do everything, but there's housing, there's fashion, there's end game trials, there's PvP. What content about Elder Scrolls Online like most draws you in? Like, maybe it's not what you stream the most, but what was like the factor for you, like when you started playing that game? Like, this is the thing that really has me hooked on this world.
It's an actually amazing question. I've never really thought about that. It's I think it's a whole bunch of factors that all surround it. I'm a person for colors. I'm a person for sounds. I find games that are very colorful and those that have those ASMR sounds, it really gets it really improves my experience. And for ESO, I was absolutely amazed watching people go through dungeons and whatnot and helping each other, 4-man or 12-man. And it just absolutely drew me in. It's I don't really know what it is, but I was like a moth to a flame and I went right to it. And I fell in love with it. And I've been playing it almost every day since.
That's really amazing. And then with Fallout 76, just kind of a similar question. Obviously, Fallout 76 doesn't have quite as many things to do as a full-on MMO, but there's still a lot of different things to do. Is it kind of similar, like the colors, the sounds, the world, the community that drew you into that game? Obviously,
the community. Same. They have the same traits. As for the game for 76, it can be a lot different. It's I guess a different kind of lore in a way. And a lot of people love Fallout. I love Fallout. Even though I haven't played the first, what was it, up to 3? It wasn't working, but apparently it just got an update for that on Steam.
Oh, did it? Cool.
It did. Yeah, so I'm excited to actually try that because I couldn't get it to run on my computer. So now I'm going to give it a try. But it's literally the communities is what keeps me there, what really draws me in. And like my first day of ESO, the outpouring of hands and people that came in being like, you're gonna need this, you're gonna need that, here's some gold to upgrade your bag. And I'm like, what? And I was absolutely lost the entire time, but I was getting so much help left and right that I'm like, this is amazing. Like I remember my first days in other games, that would have never happened, in another MMO that I've ever participated in, and it just absolutely sucked me in. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is where I want to be. And these are my people.
So something that I guess Bethesda games have in common, but definitely Fallout 76 and Elder Scrolls Online have in common, was their rocky starts. Like Elder Scrolls Online was not the game we know and love today when it first started. It did not have one tamrail. You couldn't just go to any zone. It was a traditional MMO. Like it had levels. And 76 definitely had one of the rockier starts, but in both cases I feel like the community managers and the devs kept trying to and keep listening to the community and have developed both games into something a lot greater.
They do. They listen to the community. And they take a lot of suggestions and they take it to heart and they try their best to make it an equal amount on each side so that they're happy and we're happy. And that's super cool. Especially the involvement in ESO. I've seen a lot of our management, just hanging around chats and, talking and seeing what's up lately. And that to me is extremely cool.
Yeah. The fact that Slash Lurk, who is Rich, who is the lead game dev, before he started streaming himself, but even now that he streams himself, literally would just pop into ESO streamers chats, say hello.
He just says hello. That's awesome.
Yeah. And just actually watch and get kind of an idea of the game from that, I think is really special. The reason I really brought up though the rocky starts is, as bad as a rocky start can be, as much as it can be hard to kind of rebuild from a rocky start, I feel like it does foster the community. I feel like the reason Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Online, and even games outside of that sphere like Final Fantasy 14, all these games, No Man's Sky, all these games that had rocky starts, but people stuck with them. And the community managers listened and the devs listened and they built these games up. I feel like because people stuck with the game, it creates a community like we have with Fallout 76, with Elder Scrolls, where we're all like, here's some gold. What do you need pointers on? How can I connect you? I think silver linings of a rocky start is it builds ingrained in the culture. Like we see the devs helping, we see the community managers reaching out. And then we as players are like, okay, we love this game. We want people to come in. We want to help it get past this rocky start because they've been listening to us. And I think that kind of helps. I don't know what your thoughts on that are, though.
It does, but it does though. That constant back and forth communication to me is extremely key when it comes to community managers and who they market the game towards. You gotta listen to them. You just have to. If you don't listen, they sort of start to wean off and go somewhere else. And with ESO, it's I recently saw a comment made the other night and they didn't know, and it was, it was fixed just the other day, and that it was that fast. They had no idea, but they fixed it. And that it was the couldn't finish one, I believe, one of the Somerset quests, I believe. But they were absolutely amazed by that. So was I. That was fast.
Yeah, and it's really great to have community managers, like I said, devs that work on it. It's great to have this community that is so caring, so giving, just wants to like join in. They want to take people on quests. They want to teach them housing. If it's something you're into in the game, you want to share it with somebody. Kind of breaking just a little bit away from games just for a bit, kind of going back to getting into streaming. There's a lot of milestones at first, and we have a lot of people who listen to the podcast, who comment, who ask questions, who are streamers or considering being streamers themselves. Can you talk a little bit about your path from, April 29th, 2019 to when you eventually got partnered? We all know that partners not an end goal. Obviously, once you get partnered, there's another step. There's always growth to be had, but a lot of people kind of get focused on that initial affiliate to partner grind. I was curious if you could speak a little bit about what that was like for you.
It was rough at first. It was rough for a while. I think it's rough for a lot of us. Being, as I stated before, I'm an introvert, and all of a sudden I have to be, talking in front of a camera, which I've really never really done before, on a microphone, and playing a game and trying to keep track of everything at the same time. But it was definitely rocky. I definitely didn't know what I was doing. Sometimes I still don't. But once, you started getting known, and I hung out a lot in other streamers' chats, and I just said hello and said, everything like that, or could I help out in a game? And I just started to get known. And I did a whole thing of consistency of doing the same thing every single day, but I was always there. I had a set schedule, and I was always going to be there. A lot of people rely on that when you have a schedule. And then it starts to build that rapport. And let's see, I think affiliates took me maybe 2 months, maybe 2 months total. And it started building from there. Fallout 76 started getting much better at the time, and it started building. And then it started going up to the point of where Wastelanders was dropped. And at that point, right before that, at 11 months, I believe, 11 months, I was made partner. And at 4 months in, I was able to apply. But like most, I got denied twice, I believe. And on my third try, I finally got it. And that was a rocky road of stress and constantly number peeping and watching. Very stressful, but I'm glad I finally made it there. It's a great accomplishment. And it's something for me to look back on. And I'm absolutely blown away by the fact that I could actually go from not being known at all to somewhat being a somewhat okay, cool guy, and people want to hang out with me. That's one of the coolest things in the world. Most of our friends are family our friends are people we choose to be, are pretty much our family, and that's how I like to see it. I see like the whole community as a family, and I want to stick with it. And if there's days where I'm not working, I'm actually a little bit down in the dumps, because I actually miss hanging out and talking to everybody every day and hanging out. It's been one heck of a journey, one heck of a roller coaster, but I've absolutely enjoyed every single aspect of it.
Yeah, it's I also miss it a lot when I can't go live, or technical difficulties or migraines or just other things I have planned. Like you definitely get used to being able to interact and having that community. Everybody talks about
life happens, and they understand.
But it's, when you can go live and people are there and they're just wanting to hang out, no matter the size. And that's always been what I've focused on. I try not to focus on what I don't have and focus on what I instead do have, whether it's trying a new game or trying a new content out, or maybe just the game. Sometimes the games that we stream, like you said, Wastelanders comes out, or Deadlands comes out, or something big comes out, and like the numbers in the category are up, but sometimes
massive, full on excitement. And I love seeing that. I really do. It's so cool.
And then sometimes where we're at now with Elder Scrolls, which is still kicking, but this is always like, even when I was a player for years and years before I streamed, like this is the lull, like kind of right after like the end of a chapter. It's a little bit smaller, numbers are a little bit lower, but I always focus more on like how many people are still there. And I just kind of wanted to talk about that. As somebody who's been streaming so long, you've been through, you know, what I call the peaks and valleys, because you have your highs, then you have your lows, and there's like this initial mental thing, at least for me, where I'm like, I'm at my high and I sat there for a few months. You're like, yeah, then it goes down. And you have this initial thing you have to kind of, at least for me, I had to fight through, which was like, I still have way more numbers than I ever had before, but they're down. Am I doing something wrong? And go, no, people are still there.
Yeah. Well, you know, and we all, I'm pretty sure everybody that's done this for a little while all experiences that. Look at your numbers and it's like, what did I do? What did I do wrong? Was it the wrong shirt? You know, was it the beard that day? Was it the amount of borks coming through? And then you start to see a pattern, but it does go back up. But it's Twitch is in fact a roller coaster. It's going to go up, it's going to go down, and a lot of it is game dependent. A lot of it's on releases. You know, if something's coming out, a lot of people are all going to build up, get super excited, hang out, and of course, where there's drops, you know, they're definitely going to hang out there because they want some of those more potions, you know.
Sweet drops. Yeah.
The sweet drops. Hey, I've gotten 2 mounts, so not bad so far.
Not bad at all.
Like 80 something crates. So, but and then it starts to plateau for a little while. And then, you know, what really makes it so good for ESO in my eyes is that there are constant events. It is constant. I started ESO, and like 2 weeks later or 1 week later, it was the Jubilee Festival, I believe, and like double XP, and then that lasted for a little bit, and then there was just like straight up double XP, and then there was another event, then you have like a week off, and then there was another event, and then another event, and it's just, for me, it's my first time. I've never participated in those. So I sort of feel like I'm small in the ranks, but super excited to finally get to go do something I haven't done before. And I get really pumped up about that and excited. You know, and I just want to sort of share that within my channel, within my community of you know, especially the people that have started since after I've started, or they're just coming back. I love getting people pumped up about all that new stuff.
Yeah, and I love that too, because obviously communities, especially in Elder Scrolls and games like that, they run the gamut. There's players that have been playing longer than I have. Even though I started with beta, I took a big break till one Tamriel came out. There's people who played all the way through since alpha. There's people who've just like brand new to the game as of that day jumping into chat. There's people in chat who are 60, 70 years old. There's people in chat who are 16 to 18 years old. Like it's just such a connecting force of like ages, and you know, it kind of transcends things. And it's really kind of cool to have that all kind of blending in one spot, and being, you know, when I'm in someone else's community, being part of that, when I'm streaming, being able to facilitate that. So it's such a cool, I feel feeling, and I feel it's somewhat unique as someone who's streamed outside of online games a bit. It's a little unique to that kind of online game community, since it does have that persistent, always like online quality. And I really like, that's why I'm really drawn to MMOs personally as like kind of the thing I stream, because of that.
Awesome.
But just kind of taking a step, we've, you know, talked a little bit about the journey, becoming a business, all those kind of like different hats we have to wear. I'm kind of curious what your goals are right now. I know I'm really big on goal setting personally. I don't know if you have any current goals, like your, you know, a lot of people have like short-term or long-term goals. I'm curious what are the Medic1556 goals at the moment for yourself, your content, your channel? Yeah,
you know, and I do have goals. And I just, you know, the one thing that actually really bothers me the most, so we've made partner, okay, but what's after that? Is there? I wish there was sort of like a tier, something to make us work towards more, or just something like that. Whereas, you know, there's other platforms where you get something and you hit another milestone on them, and you get something, and you get something, and you can keep on working towards it. And I see myself, I guess I can't rely on going higher than partner, but what I can do is make my content higher. I could like I just recently did all this stuff behind me. So I was thinking, I want to make my own stream higher. I want to make my lighting better. So what it comes down to is just making those little tiny small adjustments, whether it be channel points or redemptions for you know, like perhaps somebody gets a free sub or something, or giveaways. it's I want to build up from that point, since I can't go any higher than partner. So it's so what I have to focus on is focusing on myself and my community better, and hopefully just keep stuff fresh and not repetitive.
Yeah, and there's 2 to 3 different things you hit on right there. For all of our audio listeners in the future, Medic used to stream with kind of a green screen, but now Medic has set up lighting and shelves, has a lot of like really cool like different things on the shelves that kind of like express their personality and stuff. It has just like kind of this really nice, well lit setup. So for audio listeners, love you to that. Just let you know what that was. And first of all, you kind of touch on improving incrementally, little by little, because that's also why I'm a big goal setter. Is it's very easy if you don't set goals to compare yourself and go, this person's growing really fast or this person's not growing. Like start competing almost when you don't want to compete. Yes, it's broadcasting, it's a competitive market, but competitive doesn't mean I need to compete with you, Medic. I don't need to compete with Ninja 619. I don't have to compete with every other streamer, because with goals, I always feel like it's competing with yourself. It's how can I, this thing didn't go very well. Can I maybe make it tone that down? Oh, this thing went well. Let's try this thing. Let's improve it, like you said, incrementally. And I think
go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that it's a level, it's competing, but it's competing by making your content the best it can be versus competing going, oh, my numbers need to be higher than theirs, and like trying to compete in a metric level when it's so much easier to like judge your success by, here was my 1-year goals. Here's how close I got to it. Oh, this was really successful. I got 72% of the way to my goals this year versus, oh, my numbers don't compare to so-and-so.
And it's it's tough to get out of that. We've all done it. We've all compared ourselves, especially when you're starting out, especially on that partner climb. And you start comparing and trying to wonder, what do they do better than I do? And then you really start nitpicking at yourself. It depends really, I guess it really depends who you are or who you are as a person, how much you can nitpick and how much you can withstand yourself nitpicking. But when you start arguing with yourself, then there becomes an issue. But it's you said it one time and it absolutely stuck in my head. It's when I first started noticing your channel. And you actually said a quote from somebody else of where you said, it's all about community, not competition. And that with me absolutely struck in my head. And I
Reishi Sports. Reishi Sports was the first one who said that was community, not competition. But you said that and it hit me like a lightning bolt. And then I say it, and like you said, it hit you. Like it
hit me.
Yeah. And it's really true. And I think that's one of the unique things about certain directories like Fallout 76, like Elder Scrolls, is it really is, not for every single person there is outliers, but for the most part, like you will see the biggest streamers pop up in or raid or support or give advice to the newest of streamers. And anytime I've ever seen a smaller streamer, a beginning streamer raid into a bigger streamer, in some categories, you'll see people just like look at the number and go, they'll like literally judge like, that was a 5-person raid. So they'll just kind of like dono wall it. But in Elder Scrolls, it's always like, oh, thank you. And like, there's just such this like give and take where Maplinator, something Maplinator said when I did a podcast with him, which was great, which is there isn't ranks and levels. Yes, we all know like Ninja's a pillar of this category, and Elder Scrolls Online has been doing it forever, has really great viewership and all that. But he doesn't behave like he is like lord and rank over somebody who's just starting out. And I think that's really special about our category.
Ninja is very helpful, extremely helpful. Believe it or not, he will reach out no matter what and help you out. It's awesome.
And the other thing that you brought up that I really wanted to talk about, you mentioned like, where do I strive for after partner? And I think that is the danger. There's 2 times that I feel like streamers experience what I would call the biggest danger of burnout. There's always the danger of burnout, but it's the affiliate push, that initial, like, how do I get these initial metrics? And then they give you these next set of metrics, partner metrics, and they give you video game like rewards on the back end. They're like, you've streamed this many hours or you've done this. And like, you pick them up like achievements, and it kind of works at first because you're like, oh, this is like a game.
It sure does. And you work towards it.
But then all of a sudden, and then you get to partner and you're like, well, obviously I want to keep making better content. Like,
Yeah.
people aren't bored with your content till they're bored with your content. What I mean by that is you can keep kind of doing the same thing, and coasting, and people will love it. They really like what you're doing, but eventually that does fall out. So there's like this challenge to always like evolve and change. But like you said, there isn't like a rung. There isn't like something beyond partner. There's like, oh, I should be working towards this or that. So we have to find that.
We have to find it ourselves.
Yeah.
And we have to take that, whatever we got for that energy of what we would have put towards going farther into, well, reinvesting into our own self, perhaps a workshop, or even some of the free, workshops that Twitch offers. Reinvest in yourself, reinvest in your community, and just start building it up from there, but make it a broader base and start building and building and building.
Yeah. And that's why I like doing these podcasts, is so people can hear that, because it's as much pressure as you put on yourself to get to partner. And I know I did. I know I was like, oh, I can't stream this thing because my numbers will be like, you have to think so much about numbers. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, I'm here. And a lot of people, if you do it wrong, or if you push too hard, come out the other side and they're just so burnt out, it can take months. Or I've seen streamers not ever actually fully bounce back from the grind of it. Like, they grind themselves so hard to get it, and they just never quite bounce back to like.
It was 3-4 months for me, and it was constant. Always be on time. Always do this. Always sit up straight. Always do everything. You're always on check on yourself, and it's a massive mental toll. Of like, you feel like you're burning out, and then you start realizing you're burning out, but you can't burn out now, because if you do, you're climbing the hill, and if you stop, you're going to start sliding back down really fast, and getting back up can be a struggle sometimes. Whether it's a lot of it's with your own self and who you are, and how well you can cope with that, or how much other support you perhaps may have to help you out.
It's definitely, and that was what I was going to get to. There's a lot that relies on support network, be it your peers and other streamers you've networked with. And that's where I want to bring up networking, is people sometimes think of networking as, oh, I'll network with another streamer and then we'll promote each other. That's great. But to me, the biggest peak of networking, which to me, networking is making connections with other people in your field without expectations of them, is the support. It's the being able to be like, I am burnt out, but I've made a connection with other streamers that may have been through it, and being able to get on DM and DMing somebody I've made a connection with, like, say, a Sakar or Camp Robber. So all these other streamers, tons have made connections with. Networking to me has allowed me to go, hey, part of each other's communities. If you have the time, I know you might not have it, but if you have the time, can I talk to you about burnout? Because I am in this right now and I need some guidance.
Or if you've been there and you see another creator going that same direction, and you can see it too, and you sort of want to reach out, and I do, and be like, just start talking about normal life, just try and get their minds off of things, but then trying to convince them that slowing down right now maybe is okay for you at the right time, but if you keep on doing this is usually how it does end up. And it's usually a downward slope, because it's you see it a lot. Everybody tries and tries and tries. There's people I used to watch all the time, and I've really noticed it lately that I haven't streamed in a long time, and it's almost as if they completely disappeared. And they would constantly go for that constant driving motion of, okay, we need to build more numbers, we need to build more numbers, we need to build more numbers. And they're getting there, and then they got that first application, which they can apply to be partner, and then they get the denial letter. And it's pretty much a copy paste, but it hits you right in the gut, and then you really start to question yourself. And it's like, wow, I really need to do this. And then I submitted another one, and boom, I got nailed because it was too many raids and hosts actually killed it the second time. And it's just like, okay. And then I'm like, now I have to turn off raids. And then I didn't think about it too much, but a lot of people got upset because they thought I blocked them and that they couldn't raid me. So that tiny little bit of talk starts spreading. And it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And you're trying to reach out to them. But at the same time, I didn't want anybody to know I was going for a partner. because I tend to have that constant thing over my head of where if I finally reach something, I'm just that person that feels they don't deserve it sometimes. Or if I get recognition for something, I feel like I don't just deserve it at all, and that somebody else could have it.
The streamer's best friend, imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome is the pain
Real
in the booty. It is awful. And it's sometimes it's just hard to accept it. And I've even had the wife looking right at me. She's like, "Accept it. You made it. You worked your butt off." And I used to say, what's a streamer without a spouse? I'd say a broke streamer. When you're starting out, and she saw me go through all that, and then she's just like, "What? You don't think you deserve it?" And sometimes I feel like I don't sometimes, and it really sucks to deal with that, and it's awful. And once it starts going in your head, sometimes it just keeps on going, and it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes, and you start nitpicking every single little thing. And it's just, you sort of have to somehow, when a whole streaming thing comes together, you not only are you your own boss and you wear different hats, but you're also sometimes your own counselor to a point where only you can settle you down. And you sort of have to recognize that and really tell yourself, I'm going to have me time right now. This is me either sitting outside for an hour or going taking a walk, sitting by the lake, just as a refreshing cool down to just walk away. And it's definitely always needed, because it's sometimes streaming, I guess, is more stressful than others think it is.
Yeah, it can be very stressful. And like you said, especially because, we are inundated with numbers and peaks and stresses of grinding for things. And you're right that sometimes we have to be our own counselor. And imposter syndrome, that's why I always bring it up on the podcast most of the time. It's a subject we always end up getting to with every content creator I've talked to, I think, except for maybe one on the podcast. And I think maybe it's all of them, because we all deal with it. And I think people don't realize how much we all deal with it. I definitely, every time I have success, or I do an event that's super successful, or I get to partner, I do the same thing. I'm like, when's the other shoe going to drop? Going to go live tomorrow. And there's honestly, to this day, even when I know people are hyped, people are excited, they've been talking to me before stream, they're ready for me to go live. And in my going live screen, there's people already chatting. There's still this moment, like right before I click go live, and also right before I click away from my just starting screen to going live, I'm just like, no one's going to be there. It's over. It's done. People are going to realize I'm a fraud, even though I'm not a fraud, and I know I'm not. And I've had to take a lot of time to realize that. There's still like this fear that like, this is the day. And I don't know why, but it is.
Isn't it so cool when you get there before stream and there's people there chatting? They're excited. That is so cool. Absolutely. That blows me away. It really does.
And also something I want to roll back to that you mentioned is talking to other streamers about life, and not to go into too much detail with it, because I don't want to take up too much podcast with it. I recently went through a situation with getting doxxed and swatted and all these things. And not only did you reach out to like talk to me about it, give me advice on it, but also, like you said, you also transitioned to just talking to me about life stuff, which also helped me kind of re-ground myself, and I really appreciate that. I want to bring that up as something cool that you did, but also just as an example of what Medic's talking about, with sometimes just reaching out to somebody who's going through something.
You're most welcome. Just reaching out sometimes, it helps.
Can help ground them, especially when they're going through like these big stresses and stuff. So just wanted to call that out.
And sometimes we need that. We need somebody to say, "Hey, yo, buddy, sit down. This is what's going on." Sometimes you might think in your head, well, do they think that? Do they not think that? But when somebody actually says like, "Yo, we got to talk. This is what's happening," and you got to be like, "Okay, then I got to change something."
Yeah, and it's also just helpful sometimes to have people again, and that's why support networks are really good if you can build one, especially if you're going to be a streamer. Because whether it's your significant other, whether it's a sibling, a friend, a fellow streamer, being able to sometimes say things. So sometimes I get, like you said, you get in a loop, and then the loop goes, and the loop goes, and the loop goes. And the minute I say it out loud, it's even before somebody can respond, sometimes I just go, as soon as it's been said to another person, I'm like, oh, I am way in my head on this one. Sometimes I'll even type out, oh, I was way in my head on that one before they can even respond. Sometimes they'll respond, we'll talk a little bit. So sometimes that's why I always like to bring up support networks. Sometimes being able to put it into the world towards at least somebody you can, you know, trust and rely on to hear it back to yourself can make you go, can break that loop and go, okay, I'm being silly about this.
And we just need that sometimes. We all do.
So that's really great. We've talked a lot about burnout. We've talked a lot about imposter syndrome. Those are all things I really do like to talk about. So one of the things I want to kind of go back to is you talked about, like, obviously you've been doing work on your lighting and your setup and things to improve your overall things. Just curious what you're building towards right now, as far as we mentioned goals, and you definitely have goals. Like, you know, have you been thinking about like new content things you want to do or set up things? Just kind of like maybe anything you want to share that's like coming down the pipeline.
You know, I've thought about I obviously want to add another game into the mix. I think it's a healthier way to go. You know, playing the same game over and over and over and over again. Believe it or not, it does have its consequences. So I have been looking at other things, and I've been looking at the whole Dark Souls trilogy. Actually, I've been watching a lot of that lately. I think it's pretty cool, but I'm not sure if I have the patience to handle it. But I've really thought of trying it out. I've actually even thought about even taking a day off once a week, actually, just as a refresh, since I work 7 days a week. But I mean, coming up. I mean, I'm just trying to. We just started a trial basically on Sundays for beginners. People have never really done that before. We go to an easy one. I'm new too. At the whole trial thing, and a lot of people have never done it. And when you after you do your first one and it's successful, and you don't have to get res 50 times, it's actually quite satisfying, and it feels good afterwards. And then we take a group picture afterwards and post it in Discord, and it's a lot of people are really excited for those. It's really cool to see the excitement on a Sunday morning when they're like, "Have we had the trial yet?" It's like, no, we haven't, and they'll wait around, and it's so cool to help facilitate that. And help bring that community a little bit closer. And I really like seeing that on my channel. Helping others, you know, level 10, finally you can do your first dungeon. I love bringing people with. And I love seeing that excitement. I love seeing that excitement on their face. The same excitement I had, and I still have when I run dungeons.
Yeah, I think that's tremendous. I actually just recently started doing veteran dungeons as a healer. I did them back on console before as a streamer, but I've never... And a fear about streaming trials and veteran content. I know everybody in the ESO category knows Focus Face, and they understand Focus Face, and there's nobody that comes to your chat who doesn't understand your Focus Face. But me, as a creator who likes to respond to chat, it took a lot to be able to be like, it's okay. You can you can focus. People are okay for you taking 15 minutes to do a boss.
Yeah, that's a big thing for me. I have a hard time having to be able to focus on a monitor. Because I don't want to miss chats. I don't want to feel like they haven't gotten any attention. You know, I constantly want to keep up. At the same time, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm in Focus Face. I'm sorry. And of course, I'm always apologizing.
Same.
It's just who I am. I apologize. I say I'm sorry. If I screw up, I'm sorry. But I try my best. But it's definitely there. It's definitely there. It's a little bit of anxiety. Okay, a lot.
Yeah.
I'll deal with it though.
But that's good. Because that's the thing, is when you get to a point in streaming, I feel at least, where you know you can do this content on these days for these hours, and you can go live and this will work out and this will do this, and it's just like the same, and you feel very comfortable. I feel like as a content creator, when I feel comfortable, that's when it's time to push a boundary, whether it's, you know, time to learn how to do veteran content but still focus on chat, or time to, like you said, I've been working new games into the mix too, just because just doing something, even with the numbers that drop, the community that comes with you. Again, I always focus on what I have, like the fact that some of the community comes along with me and we try new things. Even that just refreshes me, just because we're doing something a little bit different. Like it's scary,
yeah.
But I feel like the fear, the pressure, and like the being uncomfortable makes us better creators.
Yes, it does, though. It does. Sometimes we have to do that. And once we get to the point where we're like, okay, I've mastered this, it's time to move on. I sort of realized that when you start running through dungeons solo, and you can do them solo, it's like it's time to move up a little bit more, something more difficult. We've been doing that lately a lot. I've really been enjoying it.
That's very, very cool. Just curious. I always like to ask about this because some people are really, really just focused primarily on Twitch, but obviously there's this kind of like social media and creating evergreen content on places like YouTube or TikTok. I'm just curious, are you kind of really focused on Twitch right now, or are you kind of thinking about or have been branching into maybe other forms of content creation?
You know, I keep on telling myself to at least create a YouTube channel just in case, at least to get that started. And I have this thing where I tell myself I'm going to do something and I don't do it. So I put it on a list, and then that list gets lost. And I tend to have that. I've actually probably done that my whole life. I just have that. I'm just that person where I'm going to do something. I really want to do it, but then I don't have a fire lit under my butt sometimes. And sometimes I just sort of need that little push in the back to tell me to go ahead and do it. But I really want to create a YouTube one. My biggest fear is I have no idea how to edit video. I'm not sure if I have the patience to learn how to edit the video. But it's something I have to push myself. In other words, I'm uncomfortable with it. So I need to get up to the part where I am comfortable at that level and try my best to do what I can do, and then practice on that, and then keep on going.
It's definitely hard because obviously every single, whether it's Twitter or Instagram or YouTube or TikTok, whatever, it's completely different than Twitch. It's the same because it's content, but the content is different. So yeah, it's finding that comfort with it can be definitely something. But again, if things don't scare us a little bit, then it's not as much growth. But I'm the same way. I have a list. I've finally been working through my list. I have like backup documents online because I'm the same way. Like, I have things I told people I was going to do 5 months ago, and I reassure Chad every once in a while, I'm like, we're still doing this. It's actually something I'm going to do on my channel that I promised 5 months ago. I'm like, there is a list. I will get to it. But yeah, like you, sometimes I need that fire lit under my butt. And sometimes it just gets on that list and just sits there for a while, a long while. Maybe it collects a little dust.
I've worked on that channel point redemption change for like 9 months now. So 8 months. So I'll get there. Sometimes a lot of it's because I think I don't have ideas. It's one of those things, I guess. And you sort of, it's just one of those things again, where you start ripping down on yourself. And it's, I trying to push that little part of, away from me, I guess. I trying my best. But that little person in your head, your conscious, is always being like, but you can't. And then you start believing that's that part of it. So you I try and fight back and be like, let's just get it done. Or I reward myself, be like, if you do that, you can get that nice cold beverage out of the fridge. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it really does work.
Sometimes it really does work. Yeah, I had to also get past that. A lot of things that people really love, content I've made, has just been stuff where, like, if I had thought about it too long, I just never would have done it. Or sometimes I thought about it too long, it took me forever to do it, because sometimes it's like, I don't have ideas. Maybe this isn't good enough. And it's weird, but with content creation, sometimes the best thing to just do is just do it. Because the worst that happens, it's hard to remember this for me at least, the worst that happens is you do something, or you add a channel point redemption or something, no one uses it or they don't like it, but it's really easy to go, okay, well, we'll check that off as something that maybe doesn't work for my community. But oftentimes than not, sometimes you just try something and people like it and can go, oh, I can build on that. But yeah, I do the same thing where I just get in my head about it and I just don't try it, put it off. So yeah.
I know how exactly it feels. It's awful sometimes.
Awesome. So just kind of
arriving. Keep on going.
Yeah, sorry, my dogs are borking, bork as they do. You know the bork life as well.
I know the drill. They're about to do it here.
So before we move to the Q&A section, just curious, we've talked a lot about what you have coming on your channel, what you're working on, the games you play, like your philosophy on content creation. So I'm really curious, if somebody was just starting out as a content creator, thinking about doing, or maybe they have been creating content for a little bit of time, what's a piece of advice you'd give? And like a piece of advice maybe that isn't given very often, because everybody says things like, turn off your view count or this or that. But what's a Medic1556? What's a solid piece of like advice maybe people wouldn't think about?
The one piece of advice I turned down and was told to me by many was to not just play one game. That was a huge thing. And I didn't listen because, I wanted to get on that train and try and build it up as high as I could go.
When people ask me, should I be a variety streamer? Should I do one game. Like they all have, it's a double-edged sword either way. If you attach yourself to one or two games and you're attached to that, then you rise with that game. It's easier to build a community because everybody's kind of building around it. But eventually there does come a time where you need to add some variety, add some spice. And like, if you really want to continue to push and grow, you have to add in variety. And then it's a little bit harder, a little bit scarier to break away later, to kind of add in some variety or add in some extra spice to it, as I like to say. However, you can grow a bit quicker. The other double-edged side of growing with one game is if you stay fully attached to one game, you rise and fall with that game, which means when that game is hype, you're hype. When it's low, you're low. And so there is something to know that your fate is crucially tied to that one game if you only have the one game.
And if that game is riding a roller coaster on up, it's going to come down.
Yeah.
It's going to come down. And when it does, so do you.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what did I do? What did I do?
And then, and it's nothing you've done. It's just that how you're kind of attached to the game. And the other thing is, if you do come up as a variety streamer, and I have friends who've gotten much bigger than I am as variety streamers over the years, but they've all told me the same thing. The path forward is a lot slower. If you start in variety, you build from the get-go, you build a community that's just going to jump with you to any game you do. However, because you're not putting down roots, you're not putting stakes and raising a tent, building a house in one game, you grow a lot slower, but you already have that established. So again, there's no right way to eat a Reese's, so to speak.
There's no right or wrong way. Just do it the comfortable way, I guess. Do what you're comfortable with when you're first starting. But yeah, if you have a variety of games, you can fluctuate, with each game. If not, it can be a downhill slope. But if the game keeps on going up and up and up and up and up, so are you. But it's not going to last forever. So you got to have that other interest and eyeball in other games that you might enjoy. But for the new people, just be comfortable. Don't worry about numbers yet.
Yeah, it's so much easier to grow, I find, as a creator if you're comfortable. Like you said, if you're passionate and comfortable, if you're forcing yourself to do the big game, and you attach yourself to that one game, and you might be rising with it, but you don't like that game, it's going to be a lot worse than if you make sure you find your passion and grow within that like community that you actually enjoy. And that's what I always kind of also point out to people is like, make sure you're enjoying what you're doing and mind your own like emotions if you're not enjoying it at any size, because the minute you're regretting and dreading getting live to play a game, you're in a bad spot as a creator, I feel.
Especially when you are your own boss. Yeah. And it's your workplace, and your own workplace is feeling miserable. That's when it's, you don't want to feel that way. We all will, but it has, you got to change that. You got to make work not feel like work. You want to have fun at the same time. But it's you got to be comfortable and manage yourself well.
Very, very true. So thank you so much, Medic. We are going to roll into Q&A. For people who are listening to this as an audio podcast or watching this on YouTube, the Q&A section will be released separate as bonus content. For those of you who are watching this live, we're going to roll into Q&A. But I want to say thank you so much, Medic, for sitting down, doing this one-on-one interview, talking about your growth, your philosophies, talking about games, and just kind of like opening up and sharing all this really like personal in-depth stuff about streaming that often doesn't get talked about.
And I appreciate doing it too. It's been a lot of fun. Very eye-opening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking time out of your day and life, spending it with us, taking the last hour and a half. I know it took us a few extra weeks to get here, but I'm really happy we did. Thank you so much for opening up. Can you go ahead and shout out your Twitch channel, your socials, anything else you want to shout out?
On Twitch, I am www.twitch.tv/medic1556. Twitter, I think, is Medic the Gamer. I'm very bad at Twitter and socials. Sometimes I don't respond at all. But that's about how to get a hold of me or reach me, I guess. Twitch is the main way to get a hold of me.